Reciprocals. So reciprocals, you've also done it in grade 11, so this should be a little bit of a recap, hopefully, once you start to remember it. So 1 over f of x is nothing to do with the x, and you're reciprocating your y. So you did this last year. Okay, so if this is a point, the new point would be 5 comma negative 1/8. The new point would be negative 6 comma. What happens if that flips around? What do you get if you flip 1/2? 2. 3 comma. What do you get if you flip 1 around? 1. 5 comma. What do you get if you flip 0 around? Wait, I'm going to get a candy. What do you get if you flip 0 around? Undefined. If you flip 0 around, it makes you divide by 0. And then what happens in math if you divide by 0? Can't. It's undefined. Okay, so let's create some general rules. So what happens if you have a height of 0? Well, we flip it. It becomes undefined. And if I'm graphing undefined, how do you graph undefined? And it's a crazy word, and you learned it last year, and it starts with an A. What is it? Asymptote. An asymptote shows me it's an undefined number. What happens at heights of 1 or negative 1? Because what happens when you flip 1? Just 1. What happens if you change negative 1 around? Just negative 1. So can we say that those points would stay? If you have a height that's far away from 0, example 100 is really far away, what would 100 do? It would become 1 over 100, which would be really close to 0. And if you have a number that's really close to 0, what do you think it would do if you flipped it? It would go far from 0. Okay, so this is the order I do this stuff in. Okay. So I say, where are the heights? Where are the heights 0? Where do you see a 0 height? That's what you're asking yourself. Height. You're only looking at heights, y's. So right here, 6 comma 0 would now become 6 comma undefined. A height of 0 becomes a height that's undefined. I'm just going to draw this in yellow so you can really see it. Now I go to number 2. Where do I see heights of 1 or negative 1? And then they stay. So where do I see a height of 1? I see 2 places. So those coordinates stay. And I'm not sure if you're going to run into this word. The word invariant means a point that stays. So this would be called an invariant point. Whatever it be, 4.5 comma 1 on the new graph is 4.5 comma 1. It didn't change. So just this word, if you run into it, that's what it means. It's a point that was staying. Okay, so now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill in the pattern with being close and far. So this was the farthest away. So it was the coordinate 0, 4. So what kind of coordinate would it now be? 0, 1/4. So it was the farthest from the x-axis. Now it's actually going to be the closest. Which means I'm going to have to go from here and up, 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 up. And then what happens in this zone? What's happening on the graph? Would you agree that I'm getting closer and closer and closer to 0? So what's going to be on my new graph? I'm going to move farther and farther and farther from 0. Same on the other side. And that's an asymptote. It will just go along it and go, 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 go. Okay? Asymptotes. Can I ever touch them? No. Can I ever cross over them? Should I ever like curl away from them? No. So don't do, that's bad. Okay, you just kind of go towards them. Okay, last one of the day. Step 1, where do you see a height of 0? Right here and right here. You have 2 asymptotes now there. You know what a question was on a provincial exam? It was, here's the graph, give an equation of an asymptote. That was all the question was. So, if you know that this is a 0, it would be an asymptote. So what is the equation of that asymptote if I ever asked you that? X equals 2 is the equation of that asymptote. So then this one is x equals -4. So if that was ever a question, just what is the equation of the asymptote? That's where you get it from. Okay, step 2. Do you ever see a height of 1 or a -1? So wherever you do, can you draw me a coordinate where that was happening? So you have 3 invariant points. Okay, now I'm going to just do this section. You're going to have to do sections at a time. So I'm in the middle section. I'm going to take the coordinate that is farthest away and move it to, and do you guys have a point that's already kind of on your page? That's where you move it to. So -3 becomes -1/3. And then I'm going to shoot along my asymptotes because this pattern is getting closer to 0, so I should be shooting away from 0. Okay, are we kind of remembering this from last year now that it's happening? Okay, now I'm going to jump to this section. Okay, here's what I'm going to talk about first. Just this little portion from here to here. What's happening in this section? I'm getting closer to 0 right here, so I should show you now going away from 0. Then I'm going to talk about this section. What's happening from this point on? It's going away from 0. So what should we do? Approach towards 0. Okay, now, mind-blowing, something happens on this graph.
Oh, there's a line in between them. Oh, on the x-axis.
Yep. So there's now, because of this pattern, as soon as a graph ever gets closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to something but doesn't touch it, what should you draw? An asymptote. So now there's actually 3 asymptotes on this graph. And this one would have an equation of, how do you do a flat one now? Y equals 0. Okay, so why did this one have one and this one didn't? Because this one has a away from 0 pattern, and this one doesn't ever have an away from 0, because the away from 0 made it go closer to 0. And then this one didn't have that.